name is Hido and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're at Modern Horizons 2 and we've got a little monkey man rocking about, you know, everyone's favourite. It's Ragavan, the Nimble Pilferer. 1 mana for a 2/1 monkey pirate. When it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast that card. And he has dash, which means you may cast this spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and it's returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Look at this little monkey. He's got loads of treasure. He's sat on a ship. What more could you want, you know what I mean? It's a monkey, and it's quite a powerful 1-drop red commander. We've had Norin the Wary. This is completely different. This is a very aggressive card. It's more similar to Isamaru, Hound of Condor, the 1 mana white 2/2 hound? I don't think it's a dog, I think it's a hound. If you like this video, please do subscribe. I'm going to be making one of these for every single legendary creature ever printed. And there's a lot of them. It's going to take me a while, but we'll get there eventually. So anyway, let's get on with the top 5 for our monkey man. And at number 5, we've got Grenzo Havoc Razor. Double red for a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose 1. Go target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any colour to cast it. So this is very similar to our commander, at least the second ability is, but the goad is really, really good here because, yes, our commander wants to be getting damage in, but it's only a 2/1, so the likelihood is our opponents will have some creatures back to block it. But if we can goad their creatures, they'll be attacking in at someone else, leaving the path clear for us to swing in and get some damage in with our commander. And, you know, if we want to get double triggers, we can exile the top card using Grenzo's ability as well. And all this for just 2 red mana. It's exactly the curve that we want. Turn 1, play our commander. Turn 2, Grenzo, exile the top 2 things. Absolutely fantastic. It's just good, clean magic, you know what I mean? To go along with this, here's a couple of exile the top card sort of cards. Atali Primal Storm, 6 mana for a 6/6. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. You may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. You're just going to get an absolute ton of value from this guy. He's really, really quite cool. Then Robber of the Rich, 2 mana for a 2/2 with reach and haste. It's a human archer rogue. And when it attacks, if defending player has more cards in hand than you, exile the top card of their library. During any turn that you attacked with a rogue, you may cast that card and you may spend mana as though it mana of any colour to cast that spell. It's a 2/2, so yes, it's just an aggressive dude, but it can help trigger, well, essentially do the same thing our commander is. Get another trigger and we can start stealing all sorts of different things. Then we've got Stolen Strategy. 5 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those cards exiled. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any colour to cast those spells. Again, it does what Atali does, except you have to pay for them. But it gives you a nice choice. It's essentially drawing you 3 additional cards every single turn. Really, really powerful. Then Jeska's Will is phenomenal in this deck. 3 mana for a sorcery. Choose 1. If you control a commander you cast when you cast a spell, choose both. So because our commander's a 1-drop, we're going to be wanting to play him every turn. So on turn 3 or whenever we have Jeska's Will, we should be getting both of these. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand and exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. This is just phenomenal value. Really dig through the deck and gets you so much mana. It's wonderful. Really, really good card. Then we've got Chandra Tortured Defiance. 4 mana for a 4 loyalty planeswalker with 4 abilities. +1, exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card this turn. If you don't, Chandra Tortured Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. Nice little bit of damage there. Can really chip our opponents down, but it also gives us some card advantage. Then +1, add double red to your mana pool. Nice bit of acceleration. Gets us, you know, if our opponents start revealing big cards, this can really push us up to be able to cast them. -3, it deals 4 damage to target creature, bit of removal. And -7, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell. The emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player. Remember, our commander also does rampers with that treasure, so getting to these 4 mana plays, we can do it slightly earlier than our opponents and really start getting advantage on our planeswalkers. Then another brand new card here, Brea's Apprentice. 3 mana for an artifact creature, human artificer. It enters the battlefield, creates a 1/1 Thopter with flying, and tap, sacrifice an artifact, choose one, exile the top card of your library. Until end of the next turn, you may play that card. Or target creature gets +2 assault until end of turn, so we can pump our commander to get in with a bit more damage. And because the treasures that our commander creates are artifacts, this is a constant stream of artifacts that we can use to activate this creature. Nice bit of synergy there. Which brings me on to number 4. And in number 4, we've got Magda, Brazen Outlaw. We talked about treasure just then, and these cards all center around treasure. And the creating of treasure is really, really good, especially for Magda. 2 mana for a Dwarf Berserker. Other dwarves you control get spawned, so that's not going to do much in the deck. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. So if Magda attacks, we're going to get a bit of ramp. And sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put it into the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So what sort of dragons could we be tutoring for? Well, why don't we get Goldspan Dragon? 5 mana for a 4/4 with flying and haste, and it's a dragon. When it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. Treasure you control have tap, sacrifice the artifact, add 2 mana of any colour. So this doubles the effect of our treasures and really can accelerate you in the game. And because it's got haste, you can attack straight away, which is pretty damn good. Then treasure map, 2 mana for an artifact with 1, tap it, scry 1, put a landmark counter on treasure map. Then, if there are 3 or more landmark counters on it, remove these counters, transform treasure map, and create 3 colours artifact creatures with tap, sacrifice the artifact, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. This is a great card. I really love it. It gives you something to do with, any excess mana you might have early game, filtering through your deck, getting to the cards you want, and then it flips for quite a bit of ramp in terms of the 3 tokens, and also a land. But you can sacrifice those treasures to draw a card with Treasure Go. So it's also card advantage as the game goes on. This is just wonderful, and our commander's going to be creating a ton of tokens, treasure tokens, so we can just keep getting advantage over and over again. Which brings me on to number 3. And our commander, early game we're playing turn 1. Turn 2, we're going to get in there for some damage. But late game, our opponents are, they're going to play a couple of things. So we need a couple of ways to get in. Sabira, Tulvindi, Caravana. Sorry, my mind fell into mush there. Caravana is a 3 mana 2/3 with haste. Pay 1, another type creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. Coincidentally, our commander is a 2/1. Pay 2, tap and discard your hand. Until end of turn, whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's a 2/3. So this can really give us a ton of card advantage and can allow our commander to get in each turn to start exiling the top cards of our opponents, and we can steal their stuff. And we could build around this sort of 2-power sort of theme, create a lot of tokens, that sort of thing. That's the direction you could go in. Break Through the Line is another version of this. 2 mana for an enchantment, pay a red. Type creature with power 2 or less gains haste until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. So if we don't want to dash in our commander because we just want to, pay a bit less mana, we could put it in, and if we've got an effect like this, tap a red, give it haste, straight in there, and it can't be blocked. Then Manifold Key, 1 mana for an artifact. Pay 1, tap it, untap another target artifact. Pay 3 and tap it, target creature can't be blocked this turn. So we can use it on the artifacts, you can play a lot of big mana accelerations, and this doubles them essentially, and it's also great because it can allow our creatures to get in unblocked. Then Access Tunnel is a land, and having effect on lands is always wonderful, gives you a great little extra spell in the deck essentially. Pay 3 mana and tap it, target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. So it just allows us to get in with our commander for those lovely, lovely triggers. Which brings me on to number 2. And something about Ragavan is that his ability, it only exiles the card and allows you to cast it. It doesn't allow you to pay mana of any colour, which, the treasure does help you with that. But you've really got to think about how you're going to build your deck, because you need to be able to cast the spells you're exiling. So a card like Chromatic Lantern is perfect for that. 3 mana for an artifact. Lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any colour. And it also taps for 1 mana of any colour. So this fixes your mana, and no matter what sort of deck you're going to be playing against, you're going to have the mana to be able to cast their spells from the top of their libraries. To go along with this, Exotic Orchard is exactly the land you want. It taps to add 1 mana of any colour that a land an opponent controls would produce. Shockingly enough, our opponents will be playing the mana sources that allow them to cast their spells. So if we're playing against a 5-color deck, we've got all 5 colors. If you're playing against a blue-green deck, they're going to have blue-green lands. So this land will always tap for blue-green. And as we are a base red deck, the likelihood is that someone will be able to tap for red. So this will always be able to cast our spells as well. Chromatic Aura is a massive 7-mana artifact, and it's legendary. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any colour, and it's tapped to add 5 colourless. And you can pay 5, tap it, draw a card for each colour among permanents you control. Now that last ability, while we are a mono red deck, we're going to be stealing so many things from our opponents. The likelihood is we're going to have quite a few coloured permanents. So we can pay 5 and draw maybe 5 cards, which is just fantastic. And if not, it's a great bit of ramp, and it also fixes our colours for us. Then City of Brass, when it is a land that when it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to you, and it has tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Absolutely fantastic and exactly what we want to do. But while we're 1 colour, why don't we go down the sort of snow route? We can play snow-covered basics, which, adds a bit of flair to your deck. And you can play things like Arkham's Astrolabe. 1 snow mana for a snow artifact. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, so a nice bit of filtering gets you through the deck. And you can pay 1 and tap it, add 1 mana of any colour. So this allows us to fix our mana regardless of what we're exiling, and we don't have to sacrifice a treasure for it. We can just filter our lands into this. Then if we're playing snow, why don't we play Scrying Sheets, which is a snow land. It taps for a colour, generic, and you can pay a generic and a snow mana to tap it. Look at the top card of your library. If that card is snow, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. This gives us a nice bit of card advantage. We're going to have at least 30 to 40 snow permanents if we're playing a snow deck, as all of our lands will be snow. And, these astrolabes and the replicating rings are also snow. So we can get a lovely bit of advantage using a land. Then finally, replicating ring. 3 mana for a snow artifact. It taps for 1 mana of any colour. And at the beginning of your upkeep, puts a night counter on replicating ring. When it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colour snow artifact tokens named Replicating Ring. With tap, add 1 mana of any colour. So the likelihood that we get those 10 counters, pretty slim, as we're not running any proliferate or anything like that. But it's a snow permanent, it's ramp, it fits into the synergy that we want to do. So why don't we put it in the deck? Then, in at number 1, we've got Hazoret's Favour. Now, I've not talked about the dash ability, really, because in my eye, mono red, you're going to have quite a few ways to give your commander haste if you really want. And turn 1, we're playing him every turn, and then we just start getting in. If he dies, then maybe we can consider dashing it. But this card is really, really awesome with dash. 3 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have target creature you control get +2% and gain haste until end of turn. If you do, sacrifice it at the beginning of next end step. So, why are we bothered about this? If you play your commander with dash, it already gets haste. And +2% is quite cool. So, why do we want to sacrifice it at the end of the turn? Well, dash also triggers at the beginning of the next end step. And you can stack the triggers so that the return to hand happens before the sacrifice. So this is essentially free. It can give any of your other creatures haste. And yeah, okay, they're going to get sacrificed. But why don't we steal our opponent's creatures and sacrifice them? That's why... I thought Caravana's expertise was going to come up here next. But we're going to look at Captivating Crew and go back to Fatal Frenzy. Captivating Crew is a 4 mana 4/3. 4 mana, gain control of target creature and opponent controls its line of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste its line of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So, pre-combat main phase, you steal a creature, use Hazoret's Favour on that stolen creature, and then we're going to be sacrificing it at the end of turn. Really, really cool. Nice bit of removal, and allows us to get in with our commander because we can just chip in and get in there with everything else. Then, we'll talk about Fatal Frenzy. 3 mana for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains trample and +X+0, where X is its power. Sacrifice it at the end of turn. So with dash, the exact same thing happens. We get to the end, beginning of the end step. Both of these things go on the stack. We can stack them however we want. So we stack it that the sacrifice comes after the return to hand. So the return to hand happens, and then there's nothing there to sacrifice. So we get a big, massive pump to our commander, and then we get our commander back to our hand so we can dash him, yes, again. Then... obviously, we can do this with our opponent's creatures, and Karizev's expertise works fantastically with our commander. 3 mana for a sorcery. Gain control of target creature or vehicle until end of turn. Untap it, and it gains haste until end of turn. And you may cast a card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So if we have dashed our commander, we can put it in through this, cast it for free. And just the callback to Karizev, because Ragavan is Karizev's good little friend. Nice bit of flavour there. And, we're stealing our opponent's things and sacrificing them. Good way to go. Then the big daddy here, Insurrection. 8 mana for a sorcery. Untap all creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. They gain haste until end of turn. This can just win you games absolutely out of nowhere. Just smash in, destroy your opponents. But if you're smashing in with all of your opponent's creatures, why don't you cast Tears of Rage if it's not for lethal? 4 mana for an instant. Play Tears of Rage only during a declare attacker's step. Attacking creatures you control get plus X plus O until end of turn, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Sacrifice those creatures at the end of turn. So again, the sacrifice trigger, we can stack that with our commander's dash ability. And this is just game winning if you've got a big board of tokens, or if you Insurrection and stall all your commander, all your opponent's creatures. This will give like plus 20 to absolutely everything. And okay, they're going to die at the end of turn, but your opponents are already dead. There is no end of turn because you're the winner. Whoop, whoop. Really, really cool card. Excellent artwork, and just works really well with Dash, which is why I include it here. Then, seeing as Dash, keeps going up and down out of the battlefield back to your hand, why don't we play Pilferer, God of the Forge? 4 mana for a 6/5 with Indestructible. As long as you have 5 devotion to red, which is the little mana symbols. Look, my card has 3 white devotion here. Pilferer isn't a creature as long as you don't have devotion. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Pilferer deals 2 damage to each opponent. And you can pay 3 mana, creatures you control get plus 1 so until end of turn. So again, works really well with sort of a token strategy or stealing all of your opponent's creatures. And those are my top 5 cards for Ragavan, the little monkey man. It's a really cool card. You can really get in there for a ton of damage, and stealing your opponent's stuff always feels good. Even if during this post-COVID time, maybe you wouldn't want to be doing that, you'd have to have kid gloves to sort of like control your opponent's things. Or you just do it digitally, you just do little proxies and stuff like that. That could be one way you go around it. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you soon with more videos. Bye.